Vava anyambararie muno. Na makwamakia idirakia no katura wega
Thanks also very much, Apostle John, for your sweet song. God bless you and do you good. As I've just promised that you're back on our call to the hurting man, I just want to invite all of us, particularly men, to join us, even as we train our best, as we train ourselves how best to raise and to nurture our boy child. Yes, I know we've talked so much about the boy child, and we have discussed in various stages how we ought to bring them up and how to bring the knowledge on how best to handle themselves. So this very particular moment, I just want us to go back to the area of protection, because it is the duty of every man to learn how best to protect not only his individual life, but also his wife, his children, and his possessions. So we have really covered quite a great deal in this area. And this very particular moment, I want us to get deeper into it. Yes, it is important that all men come to this understanding that they were born to protect. I want to come again, that all men must understand they were born to protect. Yes, and I know we borrowed from the Word of God, that is from Genesis chapter number 2 verses 15, that when God made the first man, He took him to the Garden of Eden, to work it out and to care for it. In other words, he was meant to to work in that garden, and above all, to protect the same. So it is the nature of every man to protect. That is our nature. We were made to protect. That is our nature. And because I don't want to go back to where we began, I would just want to connect from where we stopped and then continue from there. Yes, I know in our times and days, things are being done, differently. We have men in our times and days who are so much attached to their material possessions more than they are attached to their families. In other words, we are so much concerned on what we'll get and how we'll find what we want to get in life, until we forget that we have an attachment with our families. We are so busy every single day, such that we don't have enough time with our family. And that one is so dangerous, and we are treading on a very dangerous route. We need to understand, as much as we are meant to go out and look for that which will benefit our families, we must also understand that the family need us more, and we need to create time for our families. Yes, because the more we disconnect with our families, the more we lose them. So this very particular moment, I want just to address an issue that sometimes so many people avoid to address. And particularly believers sometimes fail to address this area. But I want to take time and address the same, such that all of us may be able to understand. Now, in African setup, we know that when you become of age and when you want to marry, it is in order that you pay dowry. And we have this culture that has come up these days, particularly in Christian circles, whereby there are beliefs or there are some doctrines that are being introduced that Jesus paid it all. I don't deny that he paid it all, but we need to differentiate issues here. What did Jesus pay for? He paid for our sins. And dowry is not part of our sin. Now, dowry is in the system, and it is also in our culture. And we cannot avoid to pay dowry. It is there, and it will remain, and it will be with us all the time. And sometimes, sometimes we want to spiritualize everything, and we want to deny ourselves a chance of paying the dowry because we want to hide under religion. That one is not okay, it's not right, it cannot augur well. We need to understand that from the book of Genesis, chapter number 24, our Father in faith, or our Father of whom we believe so much is our Father, our Father in faith, that is Abraham. He committed himself to paying dowry. So if you are a believer, you need to study Genesis chapter number 24 to understand the importance of dowry. Yes, I know, and I've met so many people and so many preachers who are so much against paying of dowry. They say they don't want to indulge themselves in cultural things or traditional things. Listen to this and listen carefully. It is not about that. It's about understanding the importance of dowry and what it does in your family. Now, number one, we must understand, as men who protect, as we protect our wives, the number one thing that gives your wife security is when you pay their dowry. So any man who does not pay dowry for their wife live insecure, or they feel insecure in that marriage. And this is, maybe I would like to borrow from the Kikuyus. Now, with a Kikuyu man who does not pay dowry, you stand a chance of losing from every side. It used to happen that if you never paid a dowry for your wife and she happens to pass away, you could not be allowed to bury that dead body. You'd lose your wife, as much as you have stayed with her for many years, and you have not paid the dowry. The family from where the wife belongs will not allow you to bury that dead. So you would lose a chance of burying your wife. Secondly, you would lose even your children. Yes, the Kikuyus had these strong beliefs that if you don't pay the dowry, you don't also stand a chance of having those children as your children. So you lose the dead, and you also lose the children to the family of your wife. That is how serious it is. And because we have a generation that do not seek to understand many things, sometimes we find ourselves doing things out of ignorance. And that's why Matalo is here to educate and to allow people to understand that when we don't do it right, we'll have ourselves to blame. So what happens, or what are the repercussions that come along the way when we don't pay dowry? Number one, there are curses that come along when we avoid paying the dowry. And number two, there are sicknesses and diseases that strike which no doctor can be able to treat. And we must understand that so many people are undergoing such curses because of ignorance. And we need to understand that ignorance has no defense. So if you are doing it out of ignorance, understand from today, ignorance has no defense. And that's why I'm taking time to educate us, because we have families that are suffering incurable diseases only because they omitted the paying of the dowry. And the sicknesses are striking and they are eating up their children. We have families that are suffering misfortunes, not because they are not saved, not because they have done and they have done as other evils, but because they overlooked the payment of the dowry. The fathers overlooked the payment of dowry. So there are consequences that comes along when we don't pay dowry for our wives. Number one, we may lose our wives. Number two, we may lose our children. Number three, we may face curses that carries for generation. We may also suffer some sicknesses and queer sicknesses and diseases that strike that nobody can be able to treat. And I know, because I'm talking to millions of people, I know you have gone to hospital, taking your sick person to the hospital, and after a long time of treatment, the doctor calls you into his office and tells you the kind of sickness or the kind of disease, the suffering, ought to be taken back to the family setup. Go consult from your family what is eating up this patient. So these things are there and they remain with us, and let us not take them lightly. That is, I've just borrowed from the Kikuyu culture, and I know even those other tribes, the African tribes, they have their way of doing it, and you don't just assume that. You take it seriously. Even myself, I am in it, and I cannot overlook. I cannot just take it easily. I know the repercussions. I know the consequences therein. And so I want to help so many believers to understand the importance of paying the dowry. Yes, I have seen it, and I have seen curses eat up families until they are no more. So before you get into that long direction, please consider doing things in the right way. Now, number three, we must also understand that there are special blessings that are spoken of the family of your wife that cannot be spoken from the family of the husband. Yes, it is the duty of the family from where the wife comes from to bless the womb of their daughter. If they don't bless the womb of their daughter, many things might go wrong. And if you can borrow from Genesis 24. Now, the Bible says, and I would like to quote clearly from the Bible here, Genesis chapter number 24, there are these blessings that cannot be spoken by anybody else apart from the family of the wife. Now, listen to this, Genesis 24 and verses 60 there. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, our sister. May you increase to thousands upon thousands. May your offspring possess the gates of their enemies. In other words, it is the family from where the wife comes from who blesses the womb of their daughter, such that she'll be able to bring forth wise sons and daughters, such that she might bring forth leaders and qualified leaders, such that she may bring forth, strong men and strong women, of whom can be able to stand against their enemies. So giving birth is not just giving birth. There are so many things that entails to that. And so we need to be wise enough to understand many things. For you to bring forth some wise sons, some qualified sons and daughters, you require the blessing from the parents where the wife comes from, or from the family where the wife comes from. So these are some of the things that we need to understand and we need to consider. So after that, when you have received a blessing, you understand that you are good to go and you are good to venture into the life of marriage. But when you miss such blessings, curses will follow after you. And I know you are wise people and you are people who understand the opposite of a blessing is a curse. So if you are missing a blessing, a curse will strike whether you like it or not. Now somebody is saying, didn't Jesus pay it all? Yes, let me just separate issues here. I started by saying Jesus paid for our sins. He never paid for our dowry. That is important that you get to understand. Now from there, we need also to understand that as we walk along, we need to understand that it is our duty to protect the emotional lives of our children. Yes, just the same way adults hurt in their emotions, it is also the same way that children hurt. And in the kind of the world that we are living in today, there are so many things that are happening in our surrounding and in our locality, such that our children are never safe. Yes, they hurt from many things, and they hurt when they intermingle with those children that are not yet brought up in the right way. So they hurt in many ways, and so we need to understand that as a father, it is your duty to protect your son. It is your duty to protect your daughter, and it is also your duty to pass through that information down your lineage. Teach them to know, teach your sons to know that it is their duty to protect their children also. So children hurt emotionally, and when a child starts to hurt emotionally, they develop some fears. They don't grow up to be courageous children. They don't grow up to be strong children, but they grow up becoming weak by the day. And so we are not able to raise true sons and true daughters, because when we separate from them and we expose them to the challenges of the world and the pains they are in, we lose them, and we lose what ought to have been realized in the near future. We lose them from every side. And so we need to understand from this day that it is your duty as a father to protect your son. It is your duty as a father to protect your daughter, and particularly protecting their emotions. So be there for them and feel with them. You don't know what it feels when you start to feel with your son or start to feel with your daughter. They feel protected and they feel strong. So they don't shy from the issues of life, but they confront the issues of life with boldness and with all courage. So when we miss it at that point, we miss it all, and also we lose choose our sons and our daughters. So it is important that we understand that. And I want to speak straight to the fathers, because I know a majority of us have no clue on how to raise their sons and how to raise their daughters. It is high time that you consider giving yourself some break, such that you may search to understand what eats up your son, what eats up your daughter. Yes, it is important that we understand these things. Now, listen to this and listen carefully. After we protect them from emotional pains, we also need to protect them from peer pressure, because we are losing millions of our sons and daughters to peer pressure. We are not there for them. We are not there to protect their feelings. We are not there to protect their decision making. We don't protect them as they make decision. So sometimes they make long decision because we are not there to protect them as they make decision. We don't have time to protect them from peer pressure. Now, how do you protect a child from peer pressure? You protect a child from peer pressure by teaching them the true values, by instilling in them some good discipline, by showing them the way to choose things in life. That is the way we protect our children from such. So we have a duty, and a very serious duty, to help our sons understand many things. And I've always said again and again, it is the duty of the mother to put her input in their daughter or their sons from 0 age to 18 or to 14 there now. And from there, it is the duty of the father to outgrow this son or this daughter until they mature. And I've always said, don't see your son, they are 28, they are 27, they are 29, and do away with them. They are still not yet mature. They need a father to guide them and to direct them and to correct them. We only allow a young man to come to a full understanding or to mature up at the age of 35. At 35, you can part ways. But as long as they are in their 20s and early 30s, they still need you in their life. They still need you to help them make decisions and understand many things. But sometimes it becomes sometimes hard, because sometimes they argue with you. Sometimes they want to show you that they understand better than you. It's only a matter of time. They will understand their fury with time. They will understand their argument will not win any battle. But let them argue and argue, because it's also important that they express themselves and speak out their feelings. Let them do that, but be strong to guide your sons until they become of age. Yes, don't quit them because they're only 25. They have a long journey to go. They have a long journey ahead of them, and the father need to come in. Yes, I know in such times, in such moment, the mother cannot contribute so much in their lives because they cannot even respect their mothers at some age. But it is the duty of the father to tell their sons when they go long, and protect them from the influences of the world. So don't give up on your son because they are 30 years old. No, they are not yet mature to make many decisions. They need to be guided. I know they may not like me when I say it like that, but that is the truth of the matter. Just time is the best judge. You know what argument they are carrying on with this time when they are 20 to 30. They think that they have known everything. But time will challenge them, and time will prove them wrong, because a father understands many things more than the son. And that's why I'm saying, don't give up on your son because they are 33. No, they are not yet mature enough to maneuver in the things of the world. they need to be guided. Yes, and to the fathers who understand what I'm saying, you'll always tell that even when they are married, you still have a lot to do in their marriage. You still have a lot to do to guide them into marriage matters. So don't give up on your son, don't give up on your daughter. Continue giving them the right counsel. They may not agree with you this time round, but the voice of the father will never leave their son. The voice of the father will never leave their daughters. So keep on pumping the right information in their mind. Some days it will erode the foolishness in the mind. It will erode the foolishness in the heart, and they'll crop up a generation of wise men and wise women. So don't give up. So we need to understand we must be there for our children to spare them from the peer pressure. Another thing that we must protect our children is the kind of gadgets that we have today. Yes, it's the duty of every good parent to teach their sons and daughters on how to use the mobile phones and other gadgets that are coming with the new generation. Teach them to understand that whatever they allow in their mind has the power to create and to shape their lives. So whatever they expose their eyes to see, such has some strong information that will be sent into their mind, and such information will create and shape their lives. So if we don't want to lose our children through the TVs, through the mobile phones and other gadgets, we need to spare some time and protect them from such influences. So protection goes beyond what many understand. We also need to teach our sons on how to stand strong at all times, because if we don't teach them to stand strong at all times, they may grow to be cowards who cannot resist, cowards who cannot even defend themselves, cowards who cannot even express themselves. We need to be there for them and teach them on how to stand on their 2 feet and show them how to protect themselves in such. So it is important that we get to understand all these things. Now, the last part here is this other part. I want to talk about the formative stage here, whereby we need to understand that we protect our children so much when we walk with them into school, when we attend school meetings, when we attend functions where they are involved. When you are there, your presence alone talks volume, and your presence alone there talks protection. So sometimes we take things rightly, and sometimes we overlook issues, and sometimes it's like we don't care. From today, it is your duty as a father to start to care, because when you are not available for that child, when there are some school functions, some school meetings, when you are not there for these children when they are sick, some days you may lose them, and once you lose them, that will be a gone story, and you'll not have any cure for such. So I'm saying to all fathers who are listening to me that find time and attend school meetings, find time and attend school functions and other functions, also in the such church functions, and also when they are sick, be there for them. Let me tell you, when you protect them in such ways, you're building up a wholesome daughter, a wholesome son, who will be able to express themselves with time, who will be able to defend themselves in matters life, and who will be able to stand strong and stand tall in the society. That is how important protection can be to all of us. Now, the last one, it's what I call the Father's presence. The Father's presence. Yes, and I want to borrow from the book of Exodus. There came a time when Moses said to God, if your presence will not go with us, do not ask us to leave this place. Now, why was it so important for Moses to ask God, God the Father, to allow his presence to walk with them. Anytime the presence of the Lord was there with them, the presence of God the Father was with them, they were assured of provision. Yes, Moses knew as long as the presence of the Lord is keeping with us, provision is sure. Now, anytime the presence of the Father is not felt in a family, now there are some fears that will creep in. Children are not sure whether provision will come their way. Number two, why Moses needed the presence of the Lord to walk with them is that as long as the presence of the Lord was with them, protection was assured. Or protection was sure for the children of Israel. So the presence of the Father in the house means a lot. The presence of the Father in the life of a son or a daughter means a lot. They feel secure. Number three, as long as the presence of the Lord was with them, Moses knew one thing: they had a sense of belonging. So anytime the presence of the Lord was not available, they did not have a sense of belonging. But as long as the presence of the Lord was with them, there was a sense of belonging. And this is what I want to communicate to all fathers, that as long as your presence is with your family, they have a sense of belonging. And I've seen so many children struggle to look for a father who can be there for them. I've seen the children cry looking for a father figure in their family. I have seen, single mother fight with their children, seeking to know who their biological father is. Yes, it's a matter of time. If you want to single out your children from the presence of the father as a mother, you are treading on a very dangerous route. Some days they will they'll question you about their father, and they'll make some tough demands on you. So the presence of the father brings about a sense of belonging. And so many children in our days and time do not have a sense of belonging. They do not know where they belong. They have absentee fathers of whom they don't connect. They are strangers to them. Listen to this. When they miss your presence, you'll miss them all over. When they miss your presence, you will miss them all over. So you'll not have them, but you lose them. So the Israelites needed the presence of God to maintain a sense of belonging. We need the presence of the fathers to maintain a sense of belonging. And a sense of belonging is also another way of protection. It is also a portion of protection. It also gives us protection, and it also gives us some confidence in ourselves. So when the presence of the Father is around, children build confidence. When the presence of the Father is available, yes, children build confidence. But when the presence of the Father is not present, or when the presence of the Father is not available, children loses confidence. So it is high time that we learn these new things. It is high time that we learn how best to nurture our boys and our daughters. It is high time that we know how best to raise our sons and our daughters. So if you want to develop a strong daughter, be there for them. If you want to develop a strong son, be there for them. So don't you quit your duty. Don't you quit your duty as a father, but take time to hold together with your family and walk with them through storms and through hard times and through good times. Just, sacrifice your time to be there for your family. Now, as I wind it up, I want to introduce us now to another area whereby all men should understand, and all ladies also should understand, that God will never entertain laziness. God will never entertain laziness. And I'll be introducing to us how we ought to become hardworking people, because God will never walk with a lazy people. But God is looking for a people who will understand the importance of hard working and the benefits therein. So that is where I'm taking us in our next lesson, and I'll teach us many things on how to work smart. And so God bless you and God do you good until we meet to that other lesson. And in that other lesson, God be with you and God do you good. Let's switch to the other side of the studio and bring to us this other number.